Welcome to another episode of Courageous Healing. I am your co-host and producer, Victor Escalante. Joining me in the studio is Adele George. Adele, welcome.
Hey, Victor. How are you?
I am great. I'm in a festive mood.
I know the holidays are finally upon us. I'm super excited. What are you doing
Right.
for Christmas?
It's a fun time to be with family, so I'm looking forward to spending some time with family, taking a much needed rest.
Yep.
What are you doing?
Same here. It's been a busy year, and December for me for work is always busy. So I'm looking forward to just having some downtime. So, in celebrating Christmas and welcoming in 2026.
Another year has gone by. Does it seem like it's been that long?
This year has been a monumental year for us.
That's right. We published the book. Yay!
Yay! The book came out in June. I would be remiss to say the amount of feedback we've gotten from people and, the warmth and the support and the reviews, are fantastic, and truly appreciative of everyone who has spent their hard-earned money to buy our book and to read my story. It's absolutely amazing. And listeners, if you don't know, Victor co-wrote a book with me called Courageous Healing. And it is absolutely the best book you could possibly read because it's about me and my story of healing through domestic violence. And it's available in paperback, Kindle, and Audible.
And I might say, listeners, that this is quite an amazing story because given the trauma that Adele went through, to be in the space that she's in is truly a miracle. And I want to give you a context for that. Adele, why don't you go ahead and tell our listeners that conversation that you had with someone who has been through trauma, but again, she doesn't really understand the act of forgiveness in an altruistic, somewhat self-preservation mode.
Yeah. One of the things that I talk about in the book, just to expand on what Victor was talking about, is the act of forgiveness and how I've actually, I see my ex-husband in a different light. And I was talking with someone about that and understanding that the monster that he is, it was created. It was not something that he just woke up one day and became this person. And I was explaining this to someone, and I can really see as I was talking to him, Victor, their skin started to crawl because the idea of really coming to some sort of empathy, forgiveness, or acceptance for what their abuser did to them, they could not relate, nor could they see that that was okay. And I understand that and I respect that because I didn't come to this, 10 years after. This was 15, 20 years after that I truly became to understand this. This isn't something that you just, it was more of a light bulb moment for me.
And I might add that it took a lot of work on your part.
Yeah, yeah. And I really didn't harbor the anger. I didn't harbor the anger because of the therapy that I went through. So the act of forgiveness or the act of really coming to some sort of empathy and compassion was something that I came to more naturally because I had already moved past all of the emotional turmoil that I had felt around the situation. So it's a two-step process. You can't just roll out of bed and forgive. You really have to work through the trauma in order to get to the point that you can then understand the person's background and why they potentially became the monster that they became.
Right.
But still read my book and was totally thrilled and understood and I mean, the reviews that we've gotten are amazing and the feedback that we've gotten has been amazing. It's been life-changing for some people. And because they had something to connect to, inspirational to them to continue to move forward in their own healing journey and understanding a little bit better what a healing journey is because nobody's even talking about that. It's about get fixed or fix your mental health or get treatment. But nobody really talks about, what it looks like. So I think that it's just been, at least on my end, 'cause that's what people have been telling me. I don't know exactly what people have been telling you, but we've talked about it, but, recently.
I talked about the book at several events that I was a speaker at. And in one particular event, there was Captain Anderson, a law enforcement officer of like 30 years. And he says, I got to have that book. He says, because I hate abusers. So I posted a picture of him in Facebook, proud to be able to be a fan of Courageous Healing.
Awesome, awesome. I'm really happy to hear that because we need more people like that. We need
We
people
do.
who really, who
We
really.
need male champions. That's been on my mind that if the conversation is going to change, it's going to have to be men that lead the conversation because when a woman talks about domestic violence, society just doesn't seem to care or doesn't really seem to coalesce around the subject matter.
Right. Exactly. And it's so laughed off, and it's so not taken seriously in some instances.
Right.
And so I really feel like.
And domestic violence actually is gender neutral because some men also suffer from domestic violence.
Right. They do, and that's the thing, that they don't talk about it. They don't talk about the abuse, they don't talk about what happened or how it happened, and, you know, um, we can't talk about toxic male culture with, obviously, out talk we're not talking about toxic female culture as well, because women are out there as well doing as much harm.
Exactly.
Because they've been harmed, same
Yeah.
thing. The men have been harmed, and the women have been harmed, and so it perpetuates itself.
Is that societal blight that nobody wants to talk about.
Exactly. So, it's been a pivotal year for us. We've gotten, a lot more listeners, which we're super excited about the fact that you guys are listening to our podcast
And sharing it.
and sharing it. Yes. I'm really overwhelmed at the feedback that we've gotten for the book. It's just been an absolute, fantastic experience.
And Houston listeners, Adele is coming in next year to do a book signing in Houston. So you can meet her, you can hear her speak, and of course, you can get the book, autographed book.
Victor and I will both sign them.
Yes,
But yeah, that's the thing though, is it's like, this year turned out to be a pretty busy year. I didn't get to make it to Houston like I had hoped to do. And, my business was busy. So we're gonna hit the ground running in 2026. We've got some really great topics for the podcast, and we're gonna start, talking about the book again. We really want people to hear it. We want people to read it. We want people to speak to us. And we want to interview you guys too. If you want to be on our podcast, we want you.
absolutely.
We want to talk about this. We want to make a very uncomfortable, taboo subject very much a subject that we talk about in plain English. And, there's a lot of Victor and I were talking earlier today in text, and there's a lot of videos out there of, like you were referring to a minute ago, about, people speaking up on how women should be treated, how men should be treated. And we want to bring more of that to light too, because it's not only the obvious, it's the insidious. It's that really needs to be talked about, and the healing that needs to take place.
What we're talking about here, listeners, is that gaslighting that sometimes it's become so normalized that you don't even realize how people are being so offensive. There's such violations of norms that we accept it as normal, and they're not. It's like abuse is abuse. If you cross a boundary of saying inappropriate things to a man or a woman, we need to have a conversation of how we need to return to another code of honor. If it's going to happen, it's up to us to make it happen.
Right. I think that's important. I think that's an important topic. I think we need to defend our friends, or defend or stand up when someone's saying or doing something that is completely inappropriate, both men and women.
Exactly.
I think that's a really important thing. it's been quite a year. We've talked a lot about really taking time to heal yourself and clear your space, clear your algorithm out, especially with a lot of the talk about the Epstein files and a lot of
Yes.
salt, the Diddy case, and all of these things being like front and center and in your face
We
every
had Amy this year as a guest who talked about how, most of the debates that are happening is it's not really people, it's bots, friends.
right,
The whole Cracker Barrel fiasco, that was mostly bots. That was an engineered, cultural debate that was not even necessarily inflamed by people, but it was mostly foreign actors that were using bots to stir up the society conflict.
right, exactly. And just a couple weeks back in like towards the end of November, Twitter had accidentally, I don't know if they did it on purpose, but then they took it back. They allowed the location of all the people on Twitter to show, like United States or Russia or whatever. And they showed that one of the largest Twitter accounts, or X accounts, that was a woman, perceived to be a woman that was MAGA, was from a foreign country, and she had the largest following. It's a bot. And what this account was saying has been excruciatingly influential on a lot of misinformation. And this happens on both sides. This was just something that was in the news that I'm just remembering recently.
Yeah,
It's like those are things that are affecting our daily lives, is affecting mental health of people, that's affecting how people navigate this world.
it's corroding our norms, and we're letting it happen because again we're seeing it as normalized when it's not. There's nothing normal about being abusive.
No. And mistreating others and being hateful towards others when unjustifiably so.
Sure,
So, I think and abuse has always been prevalent, but it's always been behind the curtain.
right.
And now abuse and negligence and horrific treatment of other people is, the curtain's been pulled away. And it's somewhat of a societal norm. And there's a lot of acceptance about it, and it needs to be broken down, and it needs to be understood. And it needs to be pointed out so that people can start to recognize toxic behavior, toxic situations, and start to make corrections, because this isn't about politics. This is about sitting down with your friends and hearing them say something that is, horrible about women or men or anybody, and speaking up and not being afraid to speak up, and understanding that if your friends don't align with your values, it's time to get some new friends. You know,
Completely.
it
Because it affects your mental health. You heard of that rule, Adele, that you're the average of the 5 closest people you hang around.
yeah. And so it's really important to take that into perspective, as far as understanding that if the people around you enjoy being cruel to other people, or take um or cruel to their partners, or whatever the case may be, and you just continue to blow it off and play it off, you're absolutely being, considered one of them. And that's now part of who you are, whether you like it or not.
Right.
So, we've had some really good impact this year, though, with the book coming out. And I'm really proud of that, Victor.
Yeah, and I've gotten some positive feedback, on the podcast too, Adele, from, some of my, clients here in Houston that, follow us and that they've listened to some of the topics. Couple of them, I, asked them what they would like to hear, and so we kinda blended in some of those, talking points that are not commonly, spoken in society.
Yeah. And that's the thing. We wanna know what you wanna talk about, what you wanna hear, listeners. We really wanna be able to bring to you what's important. Because, next year we're looking at topics of talking about things like why is domestic violence misunderstood? What is, in understanding the details of it, domestic violence and sexual assault, and how people are groomed. How are people groomed in order to be in these situations? And this goes all the way from abuse, sexual abuse, and domestic violence, all the way to human trafficking.
Right.
You're listening to Courageous Healing Podcast. We'll be right back.
Big news! The inspiring book Courageous Healing is now available in print, ebook, and audiobook. No matter how you like to read or listen, you can now experience the powerful story and life-changing insights inside this book. Don't wait. Start your journey of healing and transformation today. Order your copy now and take the first step toward your courageous healing.
We now return you to the Courageous Healing Podcast.
I mean, how people are groomed and manipulated with the introduction of technology and how people are shaming people online and things like that. The threat of, really ruining or harming someone makes a big difference. So, and then talking about things like the root of violence and generational trauma. We know generational trauma is not just a buzzword.
No.
It's heavily talked about, but it's not a buzzword. And so it's something that people need to understand, and how important it is that you can actually break that generational trauma. You can make a decision to do that. So, and the other thing that I know that we'll get into, and we talked about it before, is just the idea that it's easy to spot an abuser. It's not. These people are charismatic. These people, oh, they're narcissists. Well, they're narcissists, but even that word, I'm really even tired of using that word these days.
Yeah, it's become very cliche. Very cliche. Yeah.
But like, abusers, that they're not outward monsters 98% of the time. People think highly of them. People think they're great people. They don't understand all of a sudden when they find out that they're being abusive. They never saw the signs. We have to get people to understand that just because you didn't see the signs doesn't mean it exists. Doesn't exist.
Yeah.
You know, it's something that does exist. And
It's a real thing, friends.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just the way that the world is, unfortunately, and people who are, you have to understand in some ways, it's kind of like that same conversation when you talk about criminals and you're like, I don't understand why they're a criminal, man. They're so smart. They can be doing so much good. It doesn't come with the rush. It doesn't come with the rush to do something good with your intelligence if you're, with the excitement of being a criminal. Not that I'm justifying being a criminal, but it's the same thing.
Oh, yeah. When I work with offenders, I would tell them, it's like, you guys are misusing your intelligence because, because if you applied the same amount of energy, the same amount of brains to doing lawful things, you guys would be huge successes.
Right. Right. And they don't see it that way. And while there's so many different things that create and develop a criminal mind, just like an abusive mind, and that's a psychology that we could make a whole year of content on.
Sure, sure.
But it's like those things, they're intelligent, they're savvy,
Uh-huh.
they are charismatic, they're full of personality, they're probably well liked, and things like that. We're talking, we know that there's different types of you. We know that people, when they drink, they get abusive, or when they're on drugs, they get abusive. When they're sober, they're not. We know that there's a multitude of triggers, but just in general, abusers tend to be well liked. They tend to be people who they can hide their dark side really, really well.
Absolutely.
I mean, again, we want you guys, especially those of you that have been through something, to continue upon your healing journey. So we're just wanting to bring you content that we hope it inspires you, exposes things and talks about things, like I said, in plain English that, is easy to understand. We're going to use the words that nobody else wants to say, and really bring this, wide open. So, and that's what the book was about. And you know what, Victor, it would be remiss to even talk about the fact that, yours truly is on a show on Hulu, that has to do with this, which is what spawned the book.
That's right. That's right.
You know? So, if you wanna see a little bit of my story, you can definitely see it on a TV show on Hulu called The Life or Death: The Negotiators. The episode is called Rogue Cop, and I think it's season 2, episode 2.
That's correct.
And
Yes.
and that is what has truly inspired me to, when I got interviewed for that show, that documentary episode, I that's what inspired me to go ahead, and that was the initial thought about writing the book. But then from that show, as I've talked about before, I got invited to go speak to a group of offenders, which included a group of also social workers and parole officers, and really talk about what I've been through and give them an understanding of what it's like to be on my side, and even an understanding of what it's like to go through a healing journey as well. And it affected me greatly, in a positive way, to sit in a room and talk to offenders, which I now absolutely would do over and over and over and over again, to sit in front of them and just talk to them and answer their questions, and just to have a wonderful panel dialogue with them over and over again. I would totally do that. It moved me to the point that I knew at that point that it was time to tell the story.
Yeah.
And it was and then of course I made a phone call to you and was like, "Yo, let's do this."
Yeah, absolutely. Timing was right.
Yeah. And that we started this in 2024.
Right.
Uh, Probably in the end of March, beginning of April. Victor wrote it very, very quickly, and then we spent the rest of the year just editing it and refining it. Really trying the goal that became very important to us was the content of the book was not about the gossip or the story, in the sense that it was for you to read it so you could get some gossip out of it, the root of it. We were trying to get to the root of what the story was. And what really came to light as Victor was working on it was really realizing how important my healing journey was. And so I remember you pointing out to me, Victor, that this is something that you really wanted to delve into and wanted people to really understand.
Right. Because some people talk about domestic violence, but what do you do after you unpack that? What can you do? Is like, what can inspire domestic abuse survivors once you own up to the abuse? What can you do with it? And again, it became obvious that they need a methodology, they need a process, and so that's about midway through the book is where I began to see that we need to pivot into the healing journey.
So it took us the rest of the year to, the next, little over a year, to really refine it and really get into exactly what it was that we wanted to talk about, and edit it down. And we wanted it to be an easy read, guys. If you've not bought the book yet, it's a short
Yeah.
book. Sit down and read it in about 2.5 hours. Doesn't mean it's an easy read as far as the content,
Yeah.
but it's an easy read. It really is. It's something that you can sit down, and it's on Audible, guys. You can get it
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot.
like
That was a fun project, selecting the voice actress that was going to play you. That she actually sounds like you.
She did an amazing job, and I'm super, super, super thankful that she decided to take the project on. So I'm really excited about how that turned out as well. But it's on Audible, 2.5 hours of your time. I think
Yeah.
it's $4.
If
It,
you road trip, you can listen to it in one sitting.
yeah, it's not something that you really want to miss out on. But listeners, I really have to say that in all of this, we're really thankful for you. We're thankful you for your support. I mean, Victor and I couldn't have done this. We wouldn't be getting this far if we didn't have you guys' support for buying the book, listening to us, and just, humoring us with our antidotes and helping us push this out so that more and more people could actually benefit from what we're talking about and what this subject is. And really, and when we came up with the title Courageous Healing, which was we were working on the book when we decided to do the podcast. But when we came up with the title of Courageous Healing, Courageous was the title of a book that Victor had worked on before. And I really just fell in love with that word. And to go on your healing journey is not easy. Would never said it was easy. And it does take courage. So I loved when we married those two words together and that just became so beautiful and I mean, we couldn't have captured it in any other way other than to say courageous healing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it takes strength, it takes courage, to own it and then to work through it.
Yeah. And we really encourage you to go on your healing journey in whatever way that you can. There's a million types of modalities out there. It's not all just talk therapy. You just have to find what works for you and don't do the spiritual bypass and don't bury it. Don't choke it down. Don't because what you end up doing is you end up diminishing your own light and your own personality, and it comes out in different forms of judgment, of hate, and all of a sudden all of it bends and alters who you are if you're not going to sit down and take the time to go on some kind of healing journey.
It takes a physical toll on you because you somatize the emotions.
Yep. And you know what? It's interesting. Mel Robbins did a podcast, and I never did listen to it. I just saw some snippets of it where she interviewed someone who said that if like having all of these emotions, high levels of cortisol, living consistently in fight or flight mode it will give you the disease. It will cause dis-ease within your body, and you will wind up with some sort of ailment,
Right.
whether it's autoimmune cancer, just never feeling good, never feeling well, never, because your body has been taught to cling to everything.
Yes. It's not just the mind that stores the memory, but the body stores the emotions. That's why a lot of people, when they go to massage, they start to release some of that trauma, some of those emotions that were stored in the body, especially in different parts of the body.
Right. Right. And there's a book out there that talks about that. I know, Victor, I think you read it. I didn't. I haven't read it yet. Where the body um keeps score, something like that.
It's called When the Body Says No.
Okay.
It's written by, I have another book of the author. His name is Gabe Mate, Mate, and he's a Canadian physician.
Yeah, and there's another book too that's really popular that has actually been recommended to me by a multitude of people. That one I want to read for sure. The other one is The Body Keeps Score by Bessel van der Kolk,
Yeah,
and it's called The Body Keeps Score: Brain, Mind, and Body in the Healing of Trauma.
yeah,
And so there's a lot of information out there about how if you cling, you hold on to, you live in fight or flight constantly, and you live in a continuous, constant state of stress, how harmful that is to you. So, your healing journey can happen in a multitude of ways. For me, for example, and this isn't something that I talk about frequently, Just recently in the last year, I had, and Victor knows this, I had suffered with a lot of physical joint pain, muscle pain. And after going to several doctors, we finally discovered that I had psoriatic arthritis. And once I got on the medication and once I started getting treatments, my personality came back.
Sure.
Who I am came back because I started to feel good. There was no more fatigue. I wasn't always tired. I wasn't always drained. I wasn't always stressed. So, and there's no doubt that the reason why that's even manifested within my body is simply because of the trauma that I endured within my life.
Right.
But it's get the treatment, get the help. And now that I obviously, I've already gone on my therapy journey, but getting the help for my physical issues that I had really has made a difference in how I function just on a daily basis. My personality is back. Who I am is back. My motivation is back. My desire to be social and to be around people. I don't sleep all the time, so on and so forth. So, those types of things can help you heal. So you need to heal both mentally and physically and really understand how those 2 are synonymous.
Yes.
So I think it's
Absolutely.
something important to consider.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, what do you think, Adele? Is that enough show?
That's enough show for the year for wrapping up 2025.
That's
Let's
gonna do it. So, friends, we wish every one of you that are listening to us and been following us a very Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. And for my part, I will see you next year. Adele, final words.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year's. Thanks for being along the ride. You just do not know how much you are appreciated. That goes for you too, Victor. Thanks for being my
All right.
ride or die. You know, uh Um, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year's, and can't wait to see you guys again in season 3.
So long, everyone.